And this part, I'm thinking about VRChat introduced the group system because that was very helpful for us once we like migrated over. We were able to start Altspacer groups and be able to kind of restart from what we were used to. And now,
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm Old Man Raptor, and we got one hell of a guest, and that is.
yeah, Armani XR. I'd go by either one. Armani XR if you're more formal.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Armani. It's an absolute honor and pleasure.
Yes, it's appreciation all the way around. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, likewise, likewise.
Oh, well, let's start with the meat and potatoes of the conversation. What are you known for? How'd you get started? What got you into VR chat?
Yeah, that's a long story. I'm thinking back to when I started in social VR. It's kind of like especially with I guess it's like pre-pandemic now. Back to like 2017. That's when I really hopped into social VR. I actually was coming from Rec Room and Altspace, and when I saw VRChat, I basically started an account here at around the same time, but I didn't really come back until after Altspace closed in 2023. So really, it's like after Altspace, that's what brought me here, or brought me back here. So that's well, most of the friends came from Altspace to VRChat. Yeah, but what I'm known for, at least right now, definitely it's been the interviews. I've been doing interviews for my group in my world, Armani's Parlor. So that's been fun just to showcase all the culture and the talent here. So it's been quite a journey, and I've enjoyed it. That's the short end of the story, the short story. There's a lot
Oh,
more fun details.
all right. So, what initially got you into Rec Room and Altspace, may I ask? Like, what pulled you into the whole
Yeah,
VR thing in general then?
yeah. I'll back up a little bit further because really, I'd say my like first interest into anything 3D was like the Nintendo 3DS back in the day. So that really got things started 2011, and then Google Cardboard. I got my kind of first introduction to VR. That's when I really got the VR bug was
Hmm.
Google Cardboard back in like 2015. So it starts from there, and then I wanted to start a VR club in my university at Texas A&M University. So
Oh,
that I started that in 2016, and really once I got my first VR PC, that's with the Vive. That was in fall 2016. So that's when things really began. And I started playing multiplayer in Rec Room, just playing paintball that next spring, 2017. That's kind of how things got started. Yeah.
alrighty. So, when you first hopped into VR chat from Altspace, or since you're known for interviews and stuff as well,
Uh-huh.
how'd you get started with that from your first steps into social VR? What led into what you do now?
Yeah. I'd really say, and I have to give a shout out to this group. Even though we've kind of transitioned from Glitches VR, there's a group called Glitches VR. They started in summer 2023, which is really just a few months after Old Space closed. I was looking for things to do and kind of all the memories I've had even back then. So started that just to kind of highlight not just groups, but at the time also social dynamics, interpersonal dynamics, and kind of examining that and what goes on in social VR, but not just for people in social VR, but
Hmm.
people outside of VR in general who have never put on a headset. They're trying to figure out, what we're doing, what's going on in here. So that's what we were trying to do, and what I'm
Oh,
still doing, and from Glitches VR. So there's a bunch of articles. I started interviewing there. I think my very first interview was with a world builder. Their name
oh,
was Honey Ginseng. So it's shout out to Honey. So that was my very first interview there. Uh, and from there, just kind of carried that on.
wow.
I got one line. when you started doing your first interview and stuff like this, how did it go? Did you feel overexhausted? Did it go the way like me and Lion when we first did our first setup? It went completely in the twilight zone. Did you have any issues, or did it go smoothly, or anything like that?
Yeah, great question. I'm just thinking about because I have different interview styles depending on who I'm interviewing. Sometimes like my very first interview was like with Honey, they're nonverbal, so it's more like a written interview. But my first verbal interview, I believe, was with little Ao,
Oh,
one of the more prolific world creators here in VRChat, and it was that was fun. I enjoyed it. It was um at least for me, I try to spend like some time with kind of doing pre-interview, so that does help. But it was it's still trying to think here. 'Cause we were also kind of coordinating cameras at the time. That was the trickiest part. That was the hardest part for us was having multiple cameras, and there were like some syncing issues and stuff from editing and post was, that was the hardest part of the time, syncing the sound and the shots and everything. Um, but overall, between me and the interviewee, it was fine. I would say at the most, probably my volume, which is funny. I'll have to turn up my volume all the time
Okay,
on my headset. So it's more technical, but the questions they're pretty fine. At least
cool,
the glitches helped out a lot.
gotcha.
who was that? Were you with? Because I missed a bit of the beginning because I glitched out a
Oh,
little bit.
yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so the group they were called the Glitches VR Collective.
Hmm.
We were um in kind of formation from summer 2023 to winter 2025. So we
Cool.
had a fun time together, and most importantly, we all learned from each other, and I learned a lot, especially with interviews and some different styles and collaborations. So,
Okay.
and learn a lot about myself. So
Ooh.
it's always a plus.
Alrighty. So a question after you as well is since you started way back then
Uh-huh.
with interviewing people, especially with the groups and people you're mentioning, what were you expecting getting into this versus what did you learn over the course of doing it?
Yeah. Getting into it is definitely more of the technicals, like programs like DaVinci Resolve, which at the time were new to me. I was more of I was coming from Final Cut, with a non-linear video editors and different programs I've had a history of using, but um, it moved from the technicals to the more the human side of groups, and coming from my background as more of a scientist, there's like a um, parts of that were neglected, so I was able to learn more about myself and my own interactions with different groups and different um, people. It really, especially just in VR, a trend I noticed and learned over time with this is how much we are embodying or embodied in our avatars. And there's from what I learned with my interviews, there's less to hide, even though we're maybe in different forms, different avatars, different styles. We're definitely more of ourselves, and it shows. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. So a question after you as well, since we're talking,
Uh-huh.
what have been some of your more favorite interviews and what have been some of the most memorable interviews you've done?
Yeah. That's a hard one. Yeah. There's so many good ones. Um, Favorite one, because I've done a mix of things in both in VR and outside of VR. With like experts in VR and experts outside of VR. So I'd say one of my most favorite interviews was with a group. They're a research unit in social VR. They go by the names Nem and Mila, but they're both pretty active in the research part of social VR.
Huh.
One of them's doing, or I think both of them are doing their thesis or have multiple like research papers in VR. And one of their surveys, they do a lot of surveys in social VR. Their last one was about identity in the
Huh.
metaverse and how people identify their avatars and identify with their avatars with avatar selections. And I found the insights to be great for just a general trend of people searching for freedom in various ways. So
Hmm.
that's what I learned. But through the course of the interview, we got into the details about avatars and Western themes versus like Japanese themes, different cultures that are
Hmm.
coming together with the kind of the search for avatars and VRChat and other platforms. So
Oh wow.
um, it was a great,
Mhm.
like very insightful kind of journey into how people
Yeah.
are searching for their selves in their like truer forms. So
Gotcha.
Oh.
I
that's
got
my
one
very
for you.
first favorite favorites. Go ahead.
I got one for you. Okay, since you mentioned that you've done in VR and outside of VR,
Uh-huh.
when you have the two together and stuff like this, do you pull from one or the other that assist you more outside or inside VR?
Yeah, no, that's great. To think about it, dude, there's some I'd say especially just with one of my goals being showing people what's going on in social VR or in that VR's not just it's although I love Beat Saber, it's more than games like Beat Saber and stuff like that. Especially here, I'd say it's more of me bringing stuff out of social VR into physical reality with people. I'll give an example article that I worked on, which involved me basically taking um, the audience on a journey to the eye doctor. So,
Okay.
but the goal was to show not just people inside, but outside social VR, but people inside social VR to remind them to take care of their eyes. So, but that goes both ways for people outside VR too. So it's the common theme from that was the same rule applies when you're looking at a screen to take breaks, as much as you can. I guess especially every hour, just to um, a general theme about it is when you're looking at a screen, you're in essence taking less blinks, and so there's a higher risk of eyes drying out, whether that's in VR or in the office, just looking at computer screens. So
Hmm.
yeah, something like a break every hour, and that's what they recommended at the time.
Okay.
Okay. Nice.
So
Ooh.
stuff like that, back and forth. It's stuff that applies almost equally. Yeah.
Ooh. All right.
But yeah, I love that question, Raptor.
Thank you. I just played it by ear and just listen.
Yeah.
That's usually how I do it.
Mhm.
Oh. So from the first interview, how has the interviews you've done changed over the course of you doing them? Was there anything particularly that you started doing differently? What kinds of things did you
Uh,
alter as you grew, and why?
yeah. I definitely say and this is more of a sustainability factor for me. When we started, it was more um I'd say video focused and I wanted to at the time there's a lot of struggle with editing, especially with the text. Since I wanted to include the entire interview, the whole thing, and not cut out so much. But there's only so much time that anyone has. So
Mm.
that was the biggest challenge was chopping interviews or finding um, places where it could keep information or leave stuff on the cutting room floor, so to speak. So it was over the from the beginning, I'd say the major changes I made was with um, what part of the interview or what medium uh, could I keep more of the information from the interview. So I'd say because the goal of mine was accessibility.
Mm.
Um, People don't always want to read or watch videos, so I wanted to make sure I had both if possible for uh, of course respecting the interviewees' interest if they wanted to be on video or not. Um, in which case I'd have them either in picture form and have B-roll of their creative works or stuff like that. Having some form of video, but if they don't want to be in the video, it's still okay. It's still feature some of their work, or in essence, having a shorter video and longer text. And it's kind of been like that for a while, where the video covers the highlights and the text carries the more full interview. And then I've also, especially with the option on Substack to have audio tracks, I've tried to have not necessarily a full podcast, but like an audio track just as an extra way to check in with the interview and listen into it on like a full archive level. But it's not quite and challenge your podcast. I want to get there at some point with some of that, being able to have some interviews be in like a more of a podcast form. But for me, it's been more of a journey for editorial
Mm.
forms, being able to have somewhere to have more of the interview for people who want to be uh, or look into a more in-depth conversation. Or if people want to, if they have less time, they're still able to check out the video.
Okay.
So,
I got I have
yeah,
another one line. Okay, if
yeah,
somebody out of the blue comes up to you and says, "Hey, I saw your videos and stuff like this," and says, "Hey, I like what you're doing and everything," and you don't know the person from Adam, what feeling do you get from that when somebody comes out and says something like that? What's your
yeah.
response?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's I'm really happy whenever someone enjoys or interacts with the I don't want to say content. It's more like their story because I'm highlighting the culture and their story in social VR, and I'm always happy and excited whenever someone interacts or they're curious enough to find my interviews, or they happen to run across it, or the algorithm is fortunate enough to share, or unfortunate enough to that the algorithm picks up the interviews and they can see it. So yeah, it's a mix of just happiness and also I'm curious back with them since they're curious, and I'd want to know how they arrived and what they thought, how they felt about the story. Did it validate their time in social VR too?
Okay,
Yeah,
I got you. Makes sense. Yeah.
A bit of a layered question based on a few things you said, so I do apologize for this.
yeah.
You
You're
said
fine.
you've been in a few different VR platforms as well as using a few different
Uh-huh.
mediums. How are each of the mediums and platforms different from each other, and how, with what you do, how do the different mediums interact with those platforms, Mask, as well? Do they, whenever you like
Yeah.
post something about it, about Rec Room or Altspace or VRChat, as an example?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that's really fun. There's actually a couple fun stories in there. I'd start this is going back to my time in Altspace because and I don't know how much of I think this was with Altspacers, or I should say with VR chatters in comparison to Altspacers, but for us, I started in Altspace around the time the pandemic started. I started getting into it a lot more after I'd say 2018, because at the time I was job hunting and I went from that to being employed, and then pandemic happened, and so I was in Altspace from there's a gap between 2018 and 2020, and then 2020 on I was in social VR a whole lot more. So I'd say the following spring of 2021, I was hanging out in Altspace, and I ran into this group called the Black Old Spacers, which shout out to them as well. They're really influential in my
Mm.
time in social VR. They really like brought the culture into social VR, so to speak, with like really fun events. But I'll get to that in a minute. So um, kind of fast forward from there to when I started hosting tours, because what happened was um, the writing was starting to be on the wall for Altspace. We're noticing some things where things weren't being maintained. So we decided to explore other platforms just to be safe and recognize where we could go. So I started hosting tours, and I called them Metaverse Mega Tours. And so what I would do was hop from Altspace to at the time we did Rec Room a couple of times, and we went to Spatial, uh, went to Cluster a couple of times too, then went to Horizon Worlds, and then we eventually got to VRChat. And we'd always end up stopping at VRChat last, since it was at the time the more accessible of the platforms where people were uh, setting up different accounts there, VRChat. Um, so I'd say that just hopping from platform to platform gave us some experience as to keeping a group together, uh, different avatars, different users, and different worlds, seeing all the capabilities. And I'd say overall from that, we just gained an appreciation for whatever the medium was, because or whatever whatever was created in each place, because there's a varying amount of technical hurdles involved with popping or building in any place. Uh, and so we kind of just gained a fuller appreciation of that we're here in the first place. So uh, there's that. There's some extra fun in just seeing common themes. Like in Alt Space, I had blue glasses too, but they're kind of like blue frames, so it's kind of funny to carry that over in a little bit. Had some customize my jacket to be a little bluer, and then eventually just put some clouds on it. So
Mm.
it was fun stuff like that. Being able to carry common themes and kind of validate our own styles, regardless of platform. We can still have certain things we recognize each other, uh, and so it validates that identity piece as well, and seeing how we show up in uh, different places, as well as how different places show up to us. So
Mm.
it's a fun back and forth with that, and yeah, it's just a fun journey. I don't know if I've
Oh,
been answering your question. I'm thinking if I did, but
well, how has the audience interacted with each of the different platforms, both on the tours and on
yeah,
your interviews and articles? Do they have lean toward a certain platform? Do they accept them all in general? Like how
uh,
are they each of them perceived since you've been in multiple?
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting question because I'm thinking about how much the percentage of my current interviews have been. Mostly, I'd say about 80% been in VR chat, 80 to 90%. Then one or two of them, trying to remember sure. I think yeah, at least one of them has been mostly in Horizon Worlds. So it's been one of the two, and really the audience has reacted the same, at least in terms of like the interaction with the articles. And I'd say at the most with the tours especially, there's been a larger group with VR chat just in general, since
Mm.
VR chat's been the most popular of all of them, regardless of where I've been. Horizon World's been a close second, at least with the uh especially with the all spacers. There's been I'd say, I don't want to call like a diaspora, but kind of like the movement from Altspace. The highest percentage of users migrated to VRChat, then the second highest probably to Horizon Worlds. Third was Spatial, but then they moved from Spatial to either Horizon Worlds or VRChat. Then also a good
Hmm.
portion also went to Second Life.
Ah,
So it's been quite interesting to see that and see how retention has gone, whether they've stayed at one or gone to another. And I'd say at the most, VRChat's at the either the strongest retention due to just the level of freedom you have here with expression and identity and avatars.
hmm.
Although I can't say VRChat's the only place where you can do that, especially with Resonite, and I didn't even get to Resonite. I should say at the time when I was doing the tours, it was Neo's VR, and so uh, we hopped there, but only I think on one of the tours. So
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I've named all the places I've been. Don't
Okay.
want to leave out other platforms like not Basis, but I forgot the name. It starts with a B, but Banter.
Answer.
That's the other one I went to. Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah. The shout out to all the platforms I've been to. It's all part of the journey. I'd say the audience has reacted. I'd say audience meaning audience outside of social VR. They've reacted with kind of equal interest to all the articles, but it's also a mix of that and getting more of the word out about what's going on here.
I have another question for you as well.
Yeah.
How different are each of the platforms, Mass? Because I've only been in a handful of other ones myself. So are they all similar to each other, or do certain platforms have uh, different feels or are better at certain things, whatnot? What are the ones like?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say they share a common theme, but they have their own little quirks and unique things that like add value to the experience. I'd say, and I'll use VRChat as kind of like the control versus the rest of them. And I'll start with Altspace since I have a lot of my memories there.
Hmm.
In a way, Altspace was in some ways still is it was ahead of its time with features like translation. They were testing live translation at least at one event. So there's that feature. Other features they had at the time, they briefly had WebXR integration where they had these little frames and you can load in 3D web pages inside of the platform, which I thought was really cool. I wish they still had it, but security they couldn't really keep it for long. That was before Microsoft acquired them. So unique things like that. Um, in terms of technological like interactions and more technical stuff. Yeah, I'd say there's before I learned about OSC here in VRChat, it's like there are different things to compare. Like going back to Rec Room at the time, they were almost on almost all platforms. So that was another thing. It's like accessibility. Their Altspace was on uh, Mac OS or Apple Android and PC VR, and in a way that kind of influenced my approach to social VR because Altspace being on multiple platforms, and then coming over to VRChat, and VRChat's picking up or catching up to that. So I'm excited to see them being on iOS and testing iOS here, but um, there's that aspect of the platforms that's different. There's an accessibility feature. Beyond that, the next big thing, which is huge, is avatars, and yeah, each platform has their own approach to avatars, and that's what makes them unique. Uh, Especially with VRChat being probably the most open to varying avatars, whether they're especially their approach to non-humanoid avatars, which is really great. Like especially compared to other platforms, it's like you're almost exclusively really outside of Resonite, uh, I think Banter, and I think there's probably another one I'm forgetting. Cluster, yeah, Cluster and some Cluster and Chill Out. All the other platforms outside of those, they kind of limit you to humanoid avatars or avatars with no arms and legs, or just avatar heads sometimes. And, um, there's some limits to like their, I would say limits, but there's just different goals. Like VRChat's more fun, although they've had some corporate events here. Some of the other platforms are more have a more corporate focus or event focus, enterprise focus, and that can kind of drive kind of the feel of the platform, especially in the beginning. Altspace was more kind of enterprise focused or event focused. In some ways, other platforms like Engage or which I haven't been to Engage by the way, but Engage is still more enterprise focused. I think even Spatial at a time before they pivoted to games, they were kind of a web based enterprise
Mm.
focus. But I have to remind myself exactly how Spatial uh, came about. But yeah, there's that in comparison to VR chat, and each platform has their varying approaches to what they do for the audience and their capabilities. I think of one other thing because I mentioned avatars and accessibility and focus, but those are the main things to be honest.
Okay. Thank you for explaining those. That was very enlightening.
Yeah,
Um, Something you mentioned a few times that I would like to ask about as well is Altspace. What
yeah.
was Altspace like, and what was the things when things come towards the end like? I've noticed, at
Uh,
least interacting with VRChat a bit, a lot of the Altspacers are here. They seem to be happy here.
mhm.
What was Altspace like, and what was the transition into here like for everyone in Altspace? I haven't had too much
Yeah,
interaction with it myself, so that's why I ask.
yeah. That's a great question. I'm just flipping through my memories here with Old Space. Because what happened, we started with robots. I was kind of there in the robot era where it's the Old Space. There's like these glowing robots, no legs, just arms and body. And in those days, it's more about the fun, like identifying the human within the avatar. You could still do it, and it was kind of in the beginning. It's funny. It's kind of you could hear people. You could hear their mannerisms. You could still make out through their gestures, of their hands, how they react to stuff. So it was funny to see that, especially just without arms and legs at the time for rendering efficiency purposes. It's just funny to see. So there's that funny beginning point. I'd say around 2017, really pre-pandemic, pre 2020. That was um, kind of the era of like the real kind of foundational beginning of uh, my time in Altspace and also the Altspacers memories. That I'd say just again existing in avatars without arms and legs. That really informed the early memory. At the time, we moved through went from robots to three versions of avatars. The first version was like a again no arms and legs, but more humanoid body instead of robot. And then the second version, we moved from that. We had like legs, but they were like they were stiff legs. So we went from robot, stiff body, arms to or hands to avatars with hands but more humanoid. Um, but yeah, the legs were stiff on the second version, and then on the third version, they were really looking for representation, or at least trying to help with the representation. So they had a lot more diverse hairstyles, skin types, and everything on that last version of avatars in all space. And I start there because again, the people were bonding with their avatars and their identities, and especially in a group like Black Old Spacers, we were having all these fun events and building these cool worlds. That's another thing about Altspace. You could did have weekly limits on world uploads, so you
Mm.
could upload a world as much as you wanted to in Altspace. So there's a lot of building going on, and at the time, especially connected with events, it was still Unity based, so you would still, you know, you could build something in Blender and upload to Unity. Not too different from here, except um at the time it was pre-Universal Render Pipeline, pre-URP, so there's a jump over, kind of similar to VRChat, except since we were dealing with at the time after Microsoft acquired them, there were different teams and they're trying to listen to the community, and their changeover was a little bit more firm. So there was at a point we had to convert a whole bunch of worlds and stuff. So there were a lot of fun times, and there were also some painful moments where the community, I'd say they listened to us, but not nearly as much as VRChat's community will. VRChat's community managers will listen to their community, the community here. So uh, I'd say that's one thing that uh, another big difference is community management. So, but going back to the question, what informs our time in old space? It's definitely the humanoid avatars, and now to jump to VR chat, we're kind of almost overwhelmed with that, with choice. You know, there's so many different beautiful avatars and stuff to choose from, and there's a time where you just, and it still is a time where we just go to the Prismix Avatar world and just spend like hours there picking avatars, fun avatars to uh, play around with. Um, and even now, I'm wearing this Ready Player Me avatar, which is it's modified, but based on Ready Player Me. So
Mm.
a lot of us, in a way, are looking for limited, or I would say limited choices, but in a way, you could say we're looking for the more limited choices we're familiar with in all space, and that's what Ready Player Me would provide. So we it'd make it easier for us to choose. But moving on to the next part of your question, our journey from old space to VR chat just involves seeing again the writing on the wall with the beginning to listen less and less to the community, and things weren't being maintained. So we we noticed that, and like I said, started touring other places. And once the cutoff actually happened in early the spring 2023, like the final moments were there's just a bunch of parties. There are like um funny, there's a somber, there's a mix of somber moods and like funny moods, like asteroids coming, kind of thing. And then also kind of like a almost like a ceremony, like a funeral for all the worlds that are either being ported or won't be able to be ported over from alt space. Um, in a way, we're kind of mourning or grieving those worlds that couldn't be saved from that. So it's a mix of serious and funny, and in the very final moments, um, yeah, everyone just froze. It was you're still talking to them, but at some point we were, and it was interesting too because the time we expected them to cut everything off, it was still going for a few minutes after. So they're manually deactivating the servers, and we're enjoying it up to the last second. So it was I recorded it to make sure I remembered the last few seconds. So, but yeah, that's how it happened. It was in a way surreal, but it also kind of still touching. So, and we were able to carry relationships over. So VRChat was very welcoming to us and understanding of the situation when it happened, and especially uh, as we're migrating over again, very helpful. Very just a shout out to the VRChat community for welcoming us over. Uh, it's it's been quite the journey, and we're very appreciative and grateful for y'all welcoming us over.
Hmm. Well, all of you are most welcome. It's a pleasure to have all of you, to be honest. At least coming from me, I can't speak for all the VR Chattians, but I can speak for myself and Degen. It's an absolute pleasure to have all of you here.
No doubt. More the merrier. That's all we always say. More the merrier.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
So,
for sure, definitely.
so you were very much welcomed in. Something else you mentioned as well, community management. What was your whole experience like going from exploring the other places and Altspace to coming, well, all of them, community management? How important is that? And was VR chat different to the other platform?
Yeah. In this part, I'm thinking about VRChat introduced the group system because that was very helpful for us. Once we like migrated over, we were able to start alt spacer groups and be able to kind of restart from what we're used to. And now, thinking back to the most recent update, or one of the more recent updates from VRChat was with the introduction of the calendar system, which
Hmm.
it really helps us out now with that's what we were used to back in Altspace was integrated event systems where you could I mean from the beginning Altspace had the event calendar, and you could it was integrated in the website, so you could go to the website and RSVP for an event. It would show up in Altspace when you put the headset on, and you could um, get reminders of events or see events that are coming up. So it was really nice to see that, and I'm excited to see that VRChat has that now. We were waiting for that for now finally, so it was
Hmm.
it's very welcome. But yeah, going to your question about community management, there's I call them growing pains, kind of like especially with different events and communities in old space that either made it over or didn't quite make it over, or made it over and then over time fizzled out or faded out a little bit, just with the um, different things going on in VR chat, and just the again myriad or multiple many options to choose from with groups now over here. It's that's this the other thing about all space to VR chat. It's like jumping from a little kiddie pool into like the Pacific Ocean or something like that. It's a different scale of people and from all space to VR chat, and so there's that aspect and us keeping our group versus finding other groups that we're interested in that we just didn't have in alt space. So I'd say it's a mixture of growing pains and kind of just groups being pulled in different directions with all the other cool stuff happening in VR chat. As an example, there are other uh, that pull is also like being felt on other platforms like not necessarily being in the same group in VR chat and meeting every time at the same time. There's only I think one group left over who's still that's that comes to mind. And they're kind of like a older old spacers, but they still meet up every week, and it's been great to see them do that. So
Oh.
I'd say it's a mix of that too. I didn't mention this, but like demographically, uh,
Mm.
all spacers were older. They weren't necessarily uh 20, 30-year olds in all space, but a good mix of um people, even parents, grandparents, in VR. And it was inspirational at the time. It still is inspirational to see them in social VR interacting and being their full selves too. It's just really we'd I'd always laugh at one of my friends and stuff like that who and not just laugh but also just enjoy their like genuine presence there social VR. Um, you don't get too much of that, or at least just again with the general or average age being younger in social VR platforms and people, still finding themselves, understandably. So
Mm.
having people still finding themselves versus people who have spent years or decades just being who they are. Um, I'd say another shout out I get to give to the Black Hole Spacers for just,
Mm.
and all spacers in general, for just
Mm.
the diverse mixture of age groups in social VR, enjoying themselves together or learning from themselves as well. Like giving advice, sharing advice from different generations. It's really, it still is really nice to see.
Mm. Well, thank you for going over and explaining all that. It's been very enlightening to hear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So,
Mm-hmm.
tying back into your interviews a bit, what have been some of the more enlightening interviews you've done, and what have you learned from them? Are you enjoying the episode you're watching so far? Then feel free to check out the rest of the stuff we have over here in the Metaverse Degen network. We have other interviews from everyone from VRChat staff to VCAT and PJKT. We talked with world builders and creators. So if you want to learn more about VR and VRChat, check it out. Also, we have a actual play podcast, Hold My L, which honestly we're just a bunch of idiots rolling dice. So if you like that kind of thing, feel free to come hang out with us over there. And if you should find any of their socials and stuff, so you can go on metaversedegen.card.co. Over on Patreon, we actually started putting the pre-show content for Hold My Ale, which like we talk about before the show, and as we all kind of start funneling into the world, getting ready. So if you want to go see that as well, feel free to go to our Patreon, which we have a few people already subscribed. We'd like to give a special thanks to Frozen, Future Oracle, Aliquum, Niche, and Forbidden Zero. Thank you very much. Funny little hint: Forbidden Zero is also the DM.
Yeah. Trying to think of another one here because I know the I mentioned the identity one is one that I enjoyed. Another one I would say involves more of a cultural piece. So my interview with VR Japan Tours,
Hmm.
that was one I enjoyed just for the experience of, again, different cultures mixing and how, in other words, being able to have an exposition of culture or a showcase of a culture that's not necessarily represented as fully as you'd want to, and you'd want to show more of that. That's um, something I learned from VR Japan tours is being deeply truthful or faithful to the culture you represent in real life and bringing that, or in physical life. I always like to say physical reality instead of IRL, since all of these realities are real. But that's something that's another can of worms. But yeah, just being faithful to the culture and representing the culture. That's one thing I learned about again just from that interview with VR Japan Tours was
Hmm.
um, really that aspect, enjoying that and them enjoying their culture as well. That is very genuine, and it shows a lot of time there's other events where that may not be the case. So it's great to see how faithfully represented and fully represented Japanese culture in general is here in social VR. And we, in a way, especially, I know I look up to how they do things here and how they carry themselves here. And I'm hopeful to have more um, cross culture kind of mixing with Western audiences and Japanese audiences and in general.
Mm.
I have that kind of bridge there because there's oftentimes with the language barriers that's harder to do here. And it's harder to do in physical reality in general. So to see that happening here, and exchange of languages and like even uh, tutorials. There on how to learn Japanese. There's a whole group for that. So shout out to them as well. And Haya, Tigase, san, Haya-san for hosting such a wonderful program like that.
Ooh.
No online.
Yeah.
When you have, if somebody come up to you like like me and stuff like this, knowing what
Uh,
field you do in all the platforms and stuff like this, and they ask, "Hey, I'd like to journey a little bit in the same thing you are," what advice would you give them?
yeah. First, one of the first things that comes to mind for me is my advice is to uh, be curious. I would say a longer way of saying that is keep an open mind, especially with everything. Uh, you may see worlds that don't look as impressive as others, or you may see different uh, groups or communities that you may or may not be as excited or impressed about, but that's upon your first glance. So if you stay with and I have to give myself this advice whenever I'm uh just in different groups that I haven't seen before. Social VR that it almost acts as a like a time machine in terms of like a interactions in third spaces. Um, Compared to physical reality, you're missing different visual cues that you don't always have compared to other realities like physical reality, where you have different senses and that add to the memories and kind of ground your memories and help give your memories weight that uh, it's missing here. So, and in essence, what I'm saying is be curious, keep an open mind, and I'd also add slow down, be able to slow down in a virtual space and realize what other cues you may be missing. Just give it more grace, especially if you're having an argument, especially if you're having conflicts or arguments. It's also if you're there's just it comes down to just some misunderstandings or different things that may not be able to pick up on, or it could even be something like something that's outside of your field of view or your frame rate may not pick up on different cues. That's one thing I appreciate about VRChat is you're able to pick up on a lot more here that you may not be able to pick up on other places, especially with more platforms picking up face tracking and
Mm.
OSC and different things. That helps a lot. So, uh, not sure. I'm trying to think if I really answered your question. Not there's that's the general advice I have for for people
It
is just
works.
to
It's hard when you're in a situation like where you're at and everything else like this until you're actually in that spot.
mhm,
That's when it
that
usually
part too.
then it clicks. Everything folds out and
Mm,
flops out. And it's anywhere, even in here or in the real world. When somebody asks you a question, you try to answer it the proper way, so it makes sense for them, not knowing them from Adam. And it's difficult.
uh,
I understand that big time.
Mm.
oh yeah, yeah.
I do
Got
like
the Red Raptor. Yeah.
I do like your slow down portion of your advice. I've noticed in social VR chat I know the most, people tend to, like the rest of the internet, move very fast and quickly all the time. I'll use DJ as an pick on you guys a little bit. They tend to get very excited and do a lot of shows and of what they enjoy to the point of burnout sometimes. So slowing down sometimes to, I guess, enjoy and learn the process is also important. It's very easy to get swept up in the excitement and then plan like 30 shows in the course of 4 days and realize this was a mistake.
Wait, hey, whoa,
Absolutely,
whoa,
yeah.
whoa, whoa! Hold the bus on this one. Are you hearing yourself, sir?
Yes, I learned the same lesson.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'm going, am I talking to the same guy I always work with? Wait a minute. I know a person who used to do the same thing. I'm going, man, we got to slow down. No, we got to go fast. I'm going, my God, I'm going to die. I can't keep up with him. Slow down, dude, on the way. God, I like to know what you drink in your coffee in the morning, and please pass it this way because I want to put it in mine.
I
Yeah,
drink every morning 300 milligrams of canned sleep every day.
can of sleep. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll have to look that one up. I bet you I could go and go, hey, do you have any can of sleep? And they're going, what?
Yes, energy
Yeah.
drinks are a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wonderful thing. No, I can't have them because they're too much sugar and it throws me off the balance. Yeah, but that'd be
Mhm.
great. I drink coffee though, without sugar. Yeah. So, but yeah, I
Yeah.
see where he's coming and everything lines that way. You're correct on that
Oh yeah.
situation. Slowing down and smelling and
Yeah.
looking what's around you in VR is very, very difficult for people.
Uh,
I don't know why. We've
yeah.
noticed
That's
that. It's
yeah. It's
unreal.
just really it's really exciting, and I think we're all like definitely preaching to the choir. It's like me too. I have to at this point I have to schedule times where I slow down so that I can actually do it. Otherwise, if I don't do it, there's so much in here. There's so much like, great stuff people doing. I don't want to miss any, especially with Spookalities coming up. So it's
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to miss,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Mm,
a mix of that, and that's also some other advice I give is especially as it's more advice to people in social VR, the power users, people who are in here like more than 5 hours a day or 10 hours a day. It's like um yeah, I'd say balance your realities. Like have some time that are either like a regular time, a habit, or ritual you have that you have in social VR and physical reality, and you know any alternate realities. It's like because sleep also is like it counts as another reality. So
Yeah, yeah, that's
you're
on its
dreaming.
own.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So just balance that time, and I'm giving myself the advice. So
mm.
yeah,
Oh,
I
a
give it.
question?
Yeah, I'd also go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
you first.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'd say that, and also give a shout out to a group I'm helping out with a lot with balance and mental health and general health in social VRs. A group called Bridge Makers. They do a lot of work with community health and group health and conflict, not resolution, but conflict resiliency. Being able to
Mm.
build that in here, especially, is important. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ooh, shout out to bridge makers. I've actually heard.
Uh-huh.
I'm familiar with them. I haven't gone, but I've seen their stuff online and seen them around.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a great group. I'd say I've learned, and this goes back to me being more of a in physical reality. I do stuff that's more logic based, or at least with the sciences. So it's kind of like a chance to balance that out with more
mm,
human work, more humanities, and also just being in touch with emotional fluency. In other words, being able to not necessarily just manage emotions, but being able to read them and follow the breadcrumbs they're leaving with emotions and handling those in all places, in all realities. That matters, and neglecting that just it it hasn't helped. So it being able to help yourself by understanding those. That's what part of what Bridgemakers works on, and we try to share
oh,
resources on that.
ooh. Question I have you hearing your
Uh-huh.
entire journey so far, what keeps you coming back to social VR since you've been here since
Oh,
2017 or earlier? What keeps you coming back to the platforms and putting on the VR headset and even doing interviews this long?
yeah, that's a great question. There are moments where, especially in those conflict parts where it's uh, yeah, it'll test that. I wonder sometimes if I will ever get tired of this, but it's really it's us. It's the
Mm,
people. That's what keeps me coming back, bringing me back. Ultimately, is us, what we do, the talent, and just the fact that there's still more people to introduce uh, to a place like this. Um, and to be honest, anytime even if I bring in family, it's like I just remember not too long ago bringing my mom into VRChat the first time. So and seeing her in the avatar, it's like
I bet that was interesting all the way
yeah,
around. I bet it was.
it was quite funny. It's stuff like that. It keeps this place from being old or stale to me. Just seeing the new introductions, meeting new people. Yeah, that that's
mm,
that's the quick summary of it. Is really just us. It's relationships, not just uh relationships that we usually think about, but all of them. Our relationship to ourselves, between people, between environments, between avatars. Interesting stuff like that also keeps me coming back. Interesting quirks like, for example, if you want to emote here, you can use the little thumb wheel and still do that. But this goes back to kind of a research thing. If you wanted to research that, there's research ongoing with cross reality uh, interactions where
mm,
you want to do the same thing. You feel the same impulse to do that in reality, where you hear something your friend likes or you something you like from your friend and you want to react to that. So you're riding in the car with them. That's what one of the glitches brought up was a moment where you almost want to emote in the same way in real life. One day that might be a thing where we're all wearing smart glasses and we can see ourselves emoting to each other. So that might not be too far off. So,
mm,
but for now, cross reality, like kind of fun stuff like that or impulses like that definitely keeps me coming back. Just interesting things like that. Even like funny stuff like sleepwalking. I've done that too. I've fallen asleep on the thumbstick and drifted into a portal, and I wake up in another world. That's that I imagine. I don't know if that's happened with y'all too, but where you fall asleep in VR and you wake up in a or that I don't want to say I've been in uh what's the word? I've been in social VR too much to where where that might be a thing, but especially with people who spend more than like 5 hours at a time and social VR and the power users, yeah, that does happen. But
mm,
one day it'll be more. I don't want to say normal, but like a thing that happens more often where we're either spending more time in social VR or with it as the technology advances, say you're at the grocery store, you get a call from someone in social VR, and you can join them for like 5 minutes while you're shopping and be half in virtual reality and half in physical reality. Uh, Maybe that'll be a thing where you
mm.
can see half of one world and half of another. But
Well, I think that
I
may
don't know. I'm
be.
kind of imagining the future.
I think it may be kind of possible. I think the uh, genres like cyberpunk, for example, if you were to take the cyberpunk series, both in the TTRPG and the
Uh,
game, I think that may be closer to what we're heading anyway. Think we have things like AR, VR, and stuff kind of colliding with each other. I think at some point the internet may evolve into something more 3D. It may be quite possible. At least I think so.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's I think the infrastructure is already kind of being put in place with digital twins, different things. It's just a matter of still comes down to accessibility. Like, can you still do this on your phone? Can you have this happen? Just because right now smart glasses are still kind of definitely a luxury. Even VR in general is still a luxury for a lot of people. So eventually, as the barrier gets lower and lower, you'll be able to have more people enjoy what we've enjoyed for the past few years now. That's what I'm. That's also what keeps me coming back. Is just getting more people in, and also people in uh, underprivileged countries and other social like demographics that aren't um, haven't had this access yet. That's yeah, that's what inspired me to see what culture they bring in as well.
Hmm.
I have to give a shout out to what I saw at Rain Dance with um their name is Dope, but they brought in a world. They're with a group in Africa, and they brought in a world highlighting the issues with sand mining in their country. Uh, and so that really just again, even though the issue was serious, they were able to fold in a lot of beautiful music in their
Hmm.
world and example and build in the culture, fold in the culture into not just fold it in, but like have the culture represented from the ground up in their development of the world and
Ooh.
the sound in their world. So it was it's a great experience to see that and see it from someone who is from there. So stuff like
Wow.
that. Just again going back to the inspiration part. Seeing more and more of that. That's because we're still it gives me the impression that even as the technology is starting to mature just a little bit more, we're still we're still in the early days. So
Hmm. I think we're still in the Nokia brick phone. If I had to equate it to
oh yeah,
uh cell phones as a technology, I think so. The Nokia brick phone, maybe the BlackBerry with the keyboard. We're starting.
yeah,
We're still in that.
oh yeah,
I think we're still in that area of VR.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Cool.
got some interesting parallels too with shout out to the other group, the biosensing group. That's the other cool group here in
We're
VRChat.
familiar.
Yeah, they do some really cool stuff, but yeah, we're still early days there too, and I'm really excited to see where that can go, connecting uh,
Mm.
brain computer interface peripherals, and it's not as scary as it sounds with the non-invasive, especially the non-invasive technologies where you can get
Cool.
certain brain information information about how you interact with the avatars and kind of again mentioning OSC, how you can connect all that information and plug it in. It's been real fun to see that.
Hmm. With speaking of biosensing, we talked with an individual from the community, Ash Edits. When we
Yeah.
had him on, he was doing some cool brain stuff, where him and a couple of his friends were working on a thing where you take your brain waves and then he equates that to a facial animation. So you'll like in
Oh,
certain like brain states you'll activate the animation, which is pretty cool.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's really just exciting enough. And again, that's something I want more people to learn about. So I'm glad we're doing this. It's like again, we're beginning to share more about our senses together in a space that essentially brings people from different parts of the world together, and we're able to share the same uh, or similar either memories or build new memories or build new cultures or build new experiences with our avatars. And that's just one of many examples. But that's one of the definitely more interesting examples for sure. So,
Hmm.
being able
Cool.
to interact that way.
Hmm. We're gonna ask you the last couple questions before we start wrapping up.
Yeah,
First of which is the name you have in VR, where did it come from, and why to use it.
yeah, oh yeah, that's great. Um, for me, and I have to think about this from this perspective of being myself, in social VR. Um, that's really the thing, because that's my uh physical reality name. So, so it's the concept of bringing that over and being who I am, and I guess being more comfortable. Or I wouldn't say more comfortable, but in essence, being representing myself. Since again, I think about my avatar skin color and the culture and representing, especially representing Black people in social VR. That's a big deal. So yeah, Armani XR. It's me. And me with just XR at the end. Big. It's a meeting of myself and other realities, and being able to represent myself in physical reality and virtual reality and all the other realities. That's the short story. It's kind of like a identity thing, but it's also just there's a lot of, I'd say, pride, but also just gratefulness or thankfulness to the community. It's myself, but it's also with the XR, just kind of representing all the realities and all the people I've enjoyed meeting in
Hmm.
them. So yeah,
Ooh, well, thank you for explaining that. It's an absolute honor
yeah,
to learn. The avatar you're in.
Mhm.
Where'd you get it? Why is it? Is there anything about it that means anything to
oh yeah. There's some different pieces and components. I want to make sure I get the the right. I gotta funny. It's funny. I'm breaking out my camera for this, but I gotta make sure I get my directions right. So I got my name, my signature on the left patch, and then on the right patch, I got the black gold spacers there, just again to memorialize them and formally, recognize our time where it began and where it still is going on. We're still actively holding events, even yesterday. Just there's
you?
always an event for us and in VRChat and other platforms. So um, it's that, and then I'll recognize my class ring. I don't know if you can see my camera, but that's my actual school ring and when I graduated from back in 2016. So that is just recognizing my time there. I have the same ring in IRL, so there's different components I brought in from real life that I bring in here and represent, and as well as representing memories I carry from here. So with that, again, just recognizing uh, the student group as well. Shout out to the intercollegiate XR group or ICXR. Once I created the student group at Texas A&M for VR, I worked to merge that club or at least connect that club with other universities across the country and also across the world now. We've gone international with groups in Australia, the Netherlands, Japan, and New Zealand. So it's been really great to see
Hmm.
I6R grow over the years. And um, yeah, there's so many groups to give a shout out to. I'm just ranting, just going through the list here. But yeah, there's that. Also, it's funny. This goes back to the identity piece again. I had the blue glasses from Altspace. I carried those over, and then um, at some point, once I started meeting people from VRChat and physical reality at different cons and different things, we started one of the very first meetings. I decided I was gonna get some blue glasses to to match my avatar here, so they'd
Mm.
recognize me from here. So I do wear blue sunglasses now in physical reality. So this influenced my physical avatar. So I'm actually curious if y'all have any things you brought from uh virtual reality to physical reality from your avatars or things, because I know that's a fun thing to do. At least once you start getting into it.
Mm. You want to start, Raptor?
I don't know what it really is, except for that most people ask me why. The biggest thing is I'm actually really tall. I'm small. That's one that's different. I did a flip there, and I, you get the situation when people go, "Well, you're a furry. Are you a definite furry or not?" I go, "No, I just like foxes. I always have
Yeah.
from day one when I was a kid when I first saw my very first fox and stuff like this. And the story on that is really out there and everything else like this. But I was fishing with my dad and saw a fox grab a stick and everything else like this. My dad goes, "Watch this," and I couldn't get the situation and everything else like this. And he picked it up, and all of a sudden he disappeared. And then all of a sudden downstream he popped back up, and all he saw was a black streak going off him. He had fleas. He was getting rid of the fleas, and that was one way he brought his head back up and got
Ah.
off and off he off. And I go, wow, now that's an intelligent animal, and that's when it stuck. But that's about mostly. I try to keep bringing different stuffs into my avatar and everything else like this. Knowing the glasses, I wear glasses, and a cowboy hat, I've got one. Stuff like this, yeah. So, and like you try to bring in really a reality of who you are, just a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit to say, hey,
Mhm.
this is me, somewhat. Didn't say it was fully, but somewhat. There's a piece of you in there. And you're correct. It's weird. Especially when you come in here and you see friends and stuff like this, and you see what when they finally stop bouncing from avatar to avatar, 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 and they finally go,
Mhm.
"This is me. Now I got to put it together to suit me." And you see a lot of it. You see a lot of people bouncing
Mm.
around, and it's pretty cool. But they get there. It just takes a while.
Mm.
What about
Oh.
you, Lion?
Oh yeah.
There really isn't a whole lot about my avatar that influenced me in real life, although one thing that's most influenced by VR is mannerisms. Two specific, I'll give you an example of. First of which, I picked up from one of my friends somewhere here, the "oh" thing in the middle of like conversations or acknowledge I'm listening. It's something I picked up somewhere and can't stop. Like it started here and then pulled its way into real life. I do it everywhere now.
Uh-oh.
And then there's this weird fantasy bow that I do quite a lot. That I also do that in
Oh
real life
yeah.
too. Well, I don't say fancy bow, it's some
and
weird
the
bow. But I do
and
it.
the other one, the other one I've ever noticed and everything lines into cyber situations.
Oh,
You
Cyberpunk.
like
No, that
cyberpunk?
didn't start in
Yeah.
VRChat.
Uh,
That started when I first got introduced to Cyberpunk, and then it kind of evolved to an infatuation. It wasn't
Yeah, but you
VRChat that
brought
did it.
some of it. Yeah,
mhm.
but you brought some of it in with you. I've noticed that with you.
Yeah,
Some of
okay,
your
yeah, I could see that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you brought a little
Yeah.
bit. I didn't say a lot. I just said you brought some of it with you. That and you see it with a lot of people in here, and that's a kicker. You get a kick out of
Hmm.
it.
Well,
You eh,
to be
so
fair, social VR is like a very cyberpunk thing. Like even you look in the genre or the brand Cyberpunk itself, the
Mhm.
underlays of VR as a net, but also as a place to visit, is very much something that's been in the genre. I think probably since like the first or second iteration of the book.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
oh, well,
I
I
agree
like
with
that
you there.
interaction y'all had. Yeah. I like that interaction y'all had with it takes like friends knowing each other over time to recognize things we don't see in ourselves often. So I like that
mm, amen.
interaction you had there. Is that you could even have it in for sure in social VR. So
I've actually met
yeah.
Raptor and I have been friends for what 5 years now.
Going, we're going on 4 years line.
4 years.
4 years.
I've met him shortly
And
after I entered VRChat, and him and I have been friends probably the longest, minus a friend of ours, Lolly. We've known him
Mm-hmm.
for, I've known him for longer, but yeah, we've known each other for a
Yeah,
while.
it's weird how when being in VR as much as you are and the platforms you've been in and everything else like this, listening to what you're saying and stuff like this, you if you walk in like you said with an open mind to every world you walk in and do that
Hmm.
with every person you bump heads with, even if you're being yourself or being crazy or off the wall, age is age, whatever, it don't matter. Yeah, it does to a certain point when they're squeakers, but what I'm getting at is when you get older, you
Hmm.
get to find who your personality is, even if it's outside or inside. It don't matter. You go, I want to be this and be me and run that way, and the people that follow me, who wants followers? You just want to be you and be yourself.
Hmm.
And you just, people go, yo, where do you get your, Lion has said it. I've had people say it to me, vice versa. Me and Lion will bicker back and forth, and you can go, God, what's wrong with you guys? You guys okay? You fighting it or something like? Hey, no, that's just the way we communicate. Everybody has their own ways, even in friends forms, communicating with each other, even in the real world or in here. And it just slides together. And you get a
Mm.
kick out of it. You just stand back and listen.
Hmm.
And that's why me and Lion get along so great. Yeah, I'm older than he is and everything else like this, but it's not the age. It's just how
Hmm.
you relate and where you click in the situation, no matter what it is. So it's cool.
Mm.
And then you probably have the same way with the platforms that you've bounced from. It's
Hmm.
unreal. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like this. It's really interesting to observe, especially. I'm thinking of some extra advice. I guess this is for people who um have entered social VR and, or better yet, this advice is for people who are outside of social VR and they are um in the future they'll be in social VR and then they're looking to have their first meeting or first moment with someone who's they've met in social VR. So it's like it's not necessarily advice, but it's more like the moment you meet IRL or in physical reality. It's like it's a it's fun. It's fun to to see. These are like it's like a it's the same person just in their uh physical avatar. So
Mm.
it's
Uh,
fun to see. It's funny to see, especially
uh,
when you start talking first time. So
Mm.
if I meet you, Lion, and everything else like this, I'm not going to run around in Fox PJs and jammies and say, "Hey, I'm here." No, we're not going to go that route. But
I'm gonna be shocked when I see you if you're not 3 inches tall.
well, if I keep going the way I'm aging and going down, because that's usually what it is. When you get older, you shrink. So
yeah.
yeah, sooner or later, I might be going. Hey, I'm down here. Yeah, right. Hopefully, nobody sits on me. Yeah.
Won't be a big surprise if
So
someone sits on you.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. That'll be a big surprise. You got that right. So.
Mm. Well, if the audience wishes to reach out and find, well, first off, thank you for coming on. It's an absolute honor to
Mm,
learn
yeah,
about
it's
you and hear
very
your
honored.
tale, by the way.
Likewise. Yeah, likewise. I appreciate your time. This is really again just really fun to just chat and just reminisce too. It's a lot of beautiful moments and what it's almost I want to say 10 years now. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's the time flies when you're having fun. So great
Mm.
to
Yep.
think about
Mm.
all this.
Mm. Well, it's been an honor to hear your tale and get to know you. If the audience wishes to reach out and find you or follow you anywhere, where'd they go?
Yeah, so they're it, for thinking of different realities here. So for physical reality, it's easier to follow on my blog. It's on the Substack, armaniXR.substack.com, or you can for VR and specifically virtual reality, you can also find me on Twitter or X at Armani's Parlor. You can search for that there. You can also within VRChat specifically, we have a VRChat group. The short code is Parlou or PARLOU .7592. Make sure I got that. Make sure I got that right there. I believe that's the right short code. Yes, yeah. PARLOU .7592. That's for everyone in VRChat. But yeah, I have a blog that posts. Then I also have a world. You can search for it in VRChat and visit it. It's kind of a under remodel. I didn't get a chance to chat as much about it, but I'll say it's kind of like a living memorial of all of the memories in VRChat, social VR. So, but it's in an ice cream parlor. So it's like the original idea was naming ice cream after people. So yeah,
Oh,
eventually I got to get your favorite ice cream flavors, Lion and Raptor. I got to get y'all's. But yeah,
nice.
yeah, that's the the main. Those are the main places. Again, is the blog and or uh the group there. So yeah,
Hmm.
and I'll try to make sure I got all. I'll hold off on the shadows until it's time. But
Oh, if you want to shout
unless it's
people,
time.
if you want to shout people out, now's the time to
Yeah,
shout them out.
yeah. Let's see. I got a little list to kind of scribble down, but I've kind of been doing it throughout the interview here. So yeah, shout out to Bridge Makers, Black Altspacers group, and all the Altspacers I know. It's been a great journey just in social VR, and we've been bringing the culture wherever we go. So it's been great to see that. Shout out to Baby Benito. I think you've interviewed Baby Benito
Hmm.
a few
Yeah,
months ago.
it was wonderful.
Uh, oh yeah, she's great. It's really great. Feel free to check out her interview too. It's really nice. And yeah, speaking of interview, every interview I've done, shout out to them. Everyone I've interviewed, everyone I'm going to interview, everyone that there's some interviews in progress. Is how how the
Yep.
process goes. So shout out to them and everyone I've met in social VR, everyone I'm going to meet. I have a list on my other website. This one is parlor.armaniXR.com and it just has a list of everyone I've kind of like a commemorative page on there you can check out with a list of names. But I like to have like honor the history. So just because that's especially here, it can be fleeting, just capturing everything that happens in social VR, at least as much as we will want to capture. So yeah,
Mm.
shout out to all that.
Oh, well, thank you very much for coming on. And for you,
Of
the
course.
audience, all his links will be down below in the video description or in Spotify, be in the episode description for you to find. Click, copy, paste in the browser. Whatever tickles your fancy will be there for you to find. And before I pass it around to close it, I'll say this. Slow down. Get to enjoy the things around you and the people you meet. It's important. And Raptor, as always, you know the thing.
You know, line. No matter what you do, folks, in here, no matter what platform you ride in or come in on, no matter what the situation is, remember always enjoy what you're doing. Don't get too crazy because guess what? Sometimes the little white coats just might be knocking on your door and they say, hey, we got a room for you. And it's all white padded. You have a good one and have a good one and make sure you run before you get too far. We'll talk to you later. Bye. God damn, this box drives. Left turn. Take another left turn. And another left turn. I'm doing a circle jerk. Whoops. I shouldn't have said that out loud. What the hell? Wee! Come here, box. Let's move. Nee. Nice.